What's going on, Freedom Fit family? It's Shad here with another video. Go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your post notifications. And in today's video, I want to share a dream with you all that God gave me recently, as recent as August 3rd, 2025, because who knows when this video will be seen. So this message was given to me August 3rd, 2025, and I'm going to share the dream with you all because I believe it's a very timely dream. And then we're going to go through the interpretation because I sat on it for a little while and really let the Holy Spirit minister to me as to what I should take away from it. And I believe it's very timely because of who is involved in the dream and all the implications of the dream. So without further ado, I'll share the dream and then we'll get into the interpretation and take it from there. Okay, so I was inside of a palace on the lower level. It was a nice place. I would say like the lobby of a palace or something. A place where events occur and it's pretty busy. There was a younger white woman trying to sell me something that I didn't want. She was trying to sell me an Xbox. She had a boss and her boss was Donald Trump. She would keep going back to him after I would decline an offer and he would keep urging her to make the sale. Then there was a point where we were outside and there were some benches to sit on. There were 2 benches. She came out after me and I heard the conversation that her and her boss had before she came to speak to me again. I heard the pressure that he was putting on her to sell me a Spotify membership. It was pretty much life or death for her. I had empathy, but I was not going to show that I knew what she was told. So when she tried to sell me the Spotify membership, I still carried on as uninterested as I did in her previous attempt to sell me something. She went back to her boss to tell him the outcome. And when she did, we were indoors again. And it was more like an office area. She went through a glass door, which was the style of a French door, to go speak with him. I heard that he was displeased with what she said from where I was sitting on the other side of the door. I was sitting on the floor. She then came out of his office and walked down the small hallway right outside of his office, which was on her side of the door, before she opened the door and came back to my side. After coming out, she closed the door and sat on the floor with me, with her back on the door as she was facing me. She looked down and discouraged in her face. And when she sat down, she had her knees up with her arms on her knees, and she put her head down. So she's pretty much like this, like, you know how you kind of sit on the floor and your knees are like propped up in front of you and you just kind of like put them on there. So she has her head down and she's like, discouraged. I noticed how down she was and I knew that her fate wouldn't be good. And I also considered that I could use the Spotify membership for my own music. Because, those of you who know I do music. So in the dream, I'm like, you know what? I actually could use this. I could use this membership and in a sense, bail her out. But, I'll explain what the interpretation of even that was in a moment. I initially held back from obliging to her offer because I wanted to see if she would tell me everything that she was told about her life or death situation. When I asked her if she really wanted me to buy the membership, she said, no, it's okay. So I didn't buy it and we left it at that. Then the dream ended. And I've mentioned to you all before that it's very important to write your dreams down so that you can remember them, because you never know when God's going to give you the interpretation. You never know what's going to happen the next day when you wake up and how God will connect things for you. And this is all a part of building a relationship with him. This is all a part of worshiping him in spirit, because dreams can give us instruction. They can let us know what's to come ahead, like in a form of foreshadowing or a warning. And God doesn't do things just because he has time to waste and he's sitting around just thinking like, you know what, let me just give Joe a dream. No, everything that he does, especially for his chosen ones, is with purpose behind it. Everything that happens in every moment of our days. So we shouldn't even see dreams as, this is like some other world I go to, and then when I wake up, that's real life. No, everything is spiritual. Whether you're consciously awake or you're in a sleep state, everything is spiritual. And when you're asleep, you're having an encounter with the Holy Spirit. It's not you doing it. It's not your own brain doing it, but instead the Spirit of God is revealing something to you, and the Spirit of God is having an encounter with the spirit of your mind and letting you know something. It's showing you something for whatever reason. Now, sometimes dreams can reveal the thoughts of the heart. And the individuals in your dream, sometimes the dream is actually about them, or sometimes they can be used as a symbol to represent something. So I'm going to break down the interpretation that I wrote out. And then after that, we're going to read the Testament of Job. Now, I know the Testament of Job may not be a popular book. It's a book that I actually found when I was researching things about Job's life. And I learned that it's pretty popular in Jewish tradition. And, nevertheless, it's the Testament of Job. So it's considered a pseudeographical book, if that's the way you say it. But based on the dream I had, and then me reading chapter 2 in the Testament of Job after this dream, I saw connections very easily. And I know that was intentional as to why God gave me the dream when he did and had me read the Testament of Job. So I'm going to break down my interpretation of the dream, then we'll read the Testament of Job. Okay, so this is what I got from the dream. There will be an agenda that's pushed by the government. Those of the world who don't know God will fall right in line with it. Now, if you remember in the dream, I was in a palace, right? And that palace, because it was so grand, it represented something like the government, just like the White House is pretty big. I mean, I've never been to it, but we can just imagine how the White House is. It was a grand place in which Donald Trump was the boss, and he was having this lady follow an agenda. He was pushing something to her that you could tell she really didn't want to do, but she was just doing it because it was her job, because she had to do it, right? Okay, so I'll read it from the top again. There will be an agenda that's pushed by the government. Those of the world who don't know God will fall right in line with it. Many won't really even care about it, but will be doing it because that's what they're told. Just like something that we saw occur in 2020. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? There was there was hysteria all throughout the earth, or at least in the country and several other countries. And the world pretty much shut down, but there was an agenda that was pushed, right? Something that had to do with this. There will be pressure to push and follow through with this agenda to the point where people's jobs and likely even their lives will be on the line. The bigger purpose will not be revealed to the people as a whole, meaning the society as a whole, those who are pushing this agenda and the ones who are not going for it, that are the chosen ones of God. The government is not going to tell us what the actual purpose is. There will likely be some form of, cover up and some proposed reason as to why they're pushing this agenda, but the exact clarity and understanding of it will not be revealed. Okay. And also in the dream, that's why I was waiting, right? I didn't oblige to the lady's offer right away. I was waiting to hear if she would be forthcoming with me, if she would be very truthful, but that never occurred. And there was a reason why I was waiting for that, because, those who are of the Spirit of God, we have temperance, we have self-control. We also know to be patient, right? We allow patience to have her perfect work. A wise man doesn't even utter things out of his mouth until he's heard the whole matter. So I was trying to hear the whole matter, but she wasn't giving it to me. Those who are of God will have eyes to see and will not give into it. Now, as I'm writing this interpretation down, it was 2:20 p.m. It was 2:20 p.m. on August 20th, and I pay attention to these things because God does speak through numbers, and I will do videos in the future breaking down the meaning of certain numbers that God has revealed to me. But trust and believe. This is no level of numerology at all, but numbers and the understanding of them is something that's right in front of our face in the Bible that I don't hear anyone talk about, and I've never heard them talk about. And I believe it's because not everyone is given the gift to understand what the numbers mean. When we consider the Hebrew language, there's 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet, and each letter represents a number. If you look in the Bible, I forget exactly which chapter was in the gospel, but it says that Yeshua was teaching letters, When it says that he was teaching letters, it means that he was teaching the understanding of them. He was a grown man at that time, so it wasn't referring to him teaching you what A, B, and C means, right? He was teaching the understanding of the letters, because the letters were also used as numbers. Therefore, numbers in modern day communicate something, just like letters or sentences or some form of message will communicate something to us. If you even go to Psalm chapter 119, David writes a psalm for each letter of the Hebrew alphabet. So David also had the understanding of numbers and letters. But regardless, the reason why I noticed 2020 was intentional, and I believe it's because it will be something of that nature that will be pushed. However, some of those who are of the faith will be inclined to follow through out of pity, because they have a righteous heart and feel bad for the next person. Also, a part of the offer will be appealing, just like the Spotify membership was for me. So as I've mentioned before, deception cannot work unless there's something appealing about the deception. There has to be something that's a form of bait that you like and that is enticing to you to even have the chance for you to bite. Otherwise, you'd completely disregard it. And I want to say it's Matthew 24:24, where Christ talks about, towards the end times, or, somewhere in the prophetic timeline that's closer to the end, that certain signs will be given to the point that if it was possible, even the very elect will be deceived. Right? So we got to realize and remember that symbols and signs are always going to have some form of appeal to it when it's trying to deceive you. Okay, so some of the righteous will be inclined to follow through out of pity, because they have a righteous heart and feel bad for the next person. Because, again, the people who are pushing the agenda, if you don't know Yeshua, you're going to be a part of the world by default because you don't have eyes to see. So they're going to think, I'm just doing my job. Hey, this is something that society has going on. Hey, just do this. I don't really care about it, but I got to do it or else I'm going to lose my job, right? That type of approach. However, we're not supposed to fall for it under any circumstance. Also, when there's pity as the cause of giving in and not deception, Satan doesn't want it. He wants to deceive you because that gives him a sense of power and fuels his pride. Pity is disrespectful to him. I believe the woman being white represents America as an empire as a whole, influenced by the previous Greek and Roman empires in their customs, culture, and agenda. So that's what I got from it, where again, there's going to be something pushed, and the people, well, basically the government will be at the head of it, and whoever's leading the government will be implementing or instituting this form of agenda. And those who don't know any better, those who don't have any eyes to see, those who are just trying to get along, they're going to fall right into it. They're going to just think maybe it's something harmless. They're going to think, hey, this is just kind of where we're at right now in the world. I just got to do what I got to do. I'm just going to keep it moving, not ask any questions. But those who have eyes to see will be aware of it, will be aware that something is up, and we're not going to fall for it. And even if you think of falling for it, I'm encouraging you now not to fall for it, because we're not supposed to. It's a form of deception. With that being said, I'm going to read the Testament of Job. So the Testament of Job, chapter 2, has many parallels to the dream, and I'll point those out after I finish reading it. Okay, Job chapter 2, or Testament of Job chapter 2. And this is the book, just so you can see it. This is the book, the Testament of Job. Hopefully the camera focused. I don't know if it did. After this is Job speaking. After this, I rose up in the night and took 50 slaves and went to the temple of the idol and destroyed it to the ground. Because where Job was living at the time, there was heavy idolatry. The people of the town were worshiping a particular idol, and Job sought to destroy it, to crush it and break it down to the ground, similar to what Abraham did with the idols of his father Terah. And so I went back to my house and gave orders that the door should be firmly locked, saying to my doorkeepers, if somebody shall ask for me, bring no report to me, but tell him he investigates urgent affairs, he is inside. So Job and his 50 slaves went to destroy the idol, And then he went home and locked his door because he probably knew there would be some form of backlash or people coming to the door to inquire about what was done. Then Satan disguised himself as a beggar and knocked heavily at the door, saying to the doorkeeper, "Report to Job and say that I desire to meet him." So this is important to know because Satan, the spirit of Satan can be inside someone. He can show up as an old man, as a nice young lady, as a family member, a friend. And if we don't have discernment, looking at the signs, then we could easily fall for that because of, again, a righteous heart. We can feel like, oh, this is just an old lady. Oh, this is my sister. Oh, this is whoever. And that would be a device that's used that gets us to fall. So we have to be aware that everything is spiritual and anyone could be used for this spiritual warfare. Because at the end of the day, if you read the book of Daniel chapter 10, there's an angel that appears to Daniel and tells him that after Daniel had fasted 21 days, the angel was trying to get to Daniel sooner, but he couldn't because the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood him. He's referring to an evil deity, an evil principality, right? That resisted the angel that was trying to come to Daniel. So over every evil empire, America included, there's some form of evil deity that rules over it and encourages the leaders thereof to implement certain things that are anti-God. And with that being said, you know, I've heard people throughout my walk use Romans chapter 13, verse 1 through 2, where they talk about, you know, hey, we're supposed to obey the government. We're supposed to, you know, follow what the authorities say because God put them in place. Those verses, Romans 13, 1 and 2, are referring to righteous rulers when they're in power, not the rulers of the government, not the wicked rulers who implement laws that are against God's laws, because that would mean that God is approving for you to sin and live a life against them, because every wicked nation has laws or a constitution or something like that develops a format or a layout for the land that is anti-God. That would make God a hypocrite. That would make God contradict himself, which he doesn't do. We also see throughout the book of Daniel, in Daniel chapter 1, verse 8, and even when Daniel was thrown into the lion's den, that he never compromised for the word of God. Even in the letter of Jeremiah, when Jeremiah told Judah that they were going to be carried away into Babylon, the message that he was given from God was to not bow down to their idols, do not worship what they worship, do not even eat their foods. Daniel in Daniel 1:8 didn't even eat the foods of at that time King Nebuchadnezzar who was in power. So he had his own customs and ways that he ran things, and Daniel didn't go along with that. And I want to mention this too, in the book of First Maccabees, which is in the Apocrypha, the men of God died because they would not eat unclean foods. So anyone telling you that you can just eat whatever you want and it's okay, that's not true. God said that the foods that are unclean are abominations. He did not go ahead and change that. When Christ talks about it's not what goes into a man that defiles him, but what goes out of him, he's referring to a situation where I believe it was either the Pharisees or the Jews were criticizing him for not having his disciples wash their hands before they ate. And Christ was letting them know that it's the position of your heart that really corrupts you, because what's in the heart comes out the mouth. So the position of your inside is going to determine what you display on the outside and would essentially lead you to sin. He's not saying like you can just eat whatever you want and everything is okay. Sin is transgression of the law. So if God gave laws stating that certain things were abominations, not only that we shouldn't eat it, but we shouldn't even touch it. And if there was a pan or pot that was used to cook in it, you should throw that pan or pot out. It's that deep. And again, the men of God died because they wouldn't eat certain foods. They starved themselves to death. So that didn't happen just for that to be thrown away and God say everything is okay now. So I just want to share that as an additional point. But yeah, just remember that every kingdom has a an evil principality over it when it's an evil kingdom, when it's an anti-God kingdom. And those who are kingdoms of God have the Most High over it, have his angels over it, protecting it. And this is all spiritual. That's why even in the dream that I shared, there will be a divide. There's going to be a divide amongst people, those who are of the world and of the agenda, and the chosen ones of God who have eyes to see, that will not bow down, just like Daniel didn't bow down to Nebuchadnezzar's gods, right? We're called to stand up, and we have to face adversity at times, but we have to have the strength and boldness. The righteous are bold as a lion. So we have to remember that. And biblical accounts aren't just things that happened, in the past that are crazy. They're real life. So when you read those accounts, you should look at it like, what if that was to happen right now, right here, right now in modern day? What would I do, right? Because that's how deep it can get, and that's how real those accounts are. So, and also Proverbs 29:2, it says that when the wicked are in rule, the people mourn, but when the righteous are in rule, the people rejoice. So there's a difference. Don't take Romans 13:1 verses 1 and 2 out of context. But going back to the testament of Job. Then Satan disguised himself as a beggar and knocked heavily at the door, saying to the doorkeeper, "Report to Job and say that I desire to meet him." And the doorkeeper came in and told me that, but heard from me that I was studying. So Job told the doorkeeper that he's studying. The evil one, having failed in this, went away and took upon his shoulder an old torn basket and went in and spoke to the doorkeeper, saying, "Tell Job, give me bread from thine hands that I may eat." And when I heard this, I gave her burnt bread to give to him. And I made known to him, "Expect not to eat of my bread, for it is forbidden to thee." But the doorkeeper, being ashamed to hand him the burnt and ashy bread, as she did not know that it was Satan, she didn't know it was Satan, right? Took of her own fine bread and gave it to him. But he took it, and knowing what occurred, said to the maiden, "Go hence, bad servant, and bring me the bread that was given thee to hand to me." And the servant cried and spoke in grief, "Thou speakest the truth, saying that I am a bad servant, because I have not done as I was instructed by my master." And he turned back and brought him the burnt bread and said to him, "Thus says my Adonai, thou shalt not eat of my bread any more, for it is forbidden to thee. And this he gave me, saying, This I give, in order that the charge may not be brought against me, that I did not give to the enemy who asked." And when Satan heard this, he sent back the servant to me, saying, "As thou seest this bread all burnt, so shall I soon burn thy body to make it like this." And I replied, "Do what thou desirest to do, and accomplish whatever thou plottest, for I am ready to endure whatever thou bringest upon me." And when the devil heard this, he left me, and walking up to under the highest heaven, he took from the Adonai the oath that he might have power over all my possessions. And after having taken the power, he went and instantly took away all my wealth. So I also posted recently on my community page that every single test is just to measure the level of faith that you have, to see, do you have a breaking point? Do you have a point that you will sell out? And Job was willing to endure whatever was to come, because I didn't read chapter 1, but in that chapter, he was made aware that if he did destroy this idol that the whole city revered, he would go through pretty much hell and high water with Satan. He was going to be able to, make his life very unfortunate, pretty much present unfortunate situations to him. And Job said, "Hey, whatever I got to do for the sake of God, I'm willing to do." That's the same spirit that Abraham had, right? And these men didn't care. Basically, what I want to say is they didn't mind what level of chastening even came upon them if they did wrong. A lot of us, may have some form of victim mentality, or feel like when we go through some challenging times that, oh, God isn't real. Now, there's difference between a test and a judgment. But when it comes to a test, when it comes to things of comfort being stripped from you, for God to show you that all you need is him, that all you need to have is a relationship with him, and that is riches. All the physical circumstances around you can change, but you will always have God. If you're not willing to go to that level with God and endure that, then you have to question if you're fit for the kingdom, right? But if you are willing to go through that and willing to endure any level of chastening, knowing that it's righteous judgment if you were to take a misstep, also knowing that you're going to learn from this and become refined into gold, well then that's a good place to be in. But I want to close with some of the additional connections that I noticed in the testament of Job to the dream that I had. So if you notice, Satan was able to hear everything that the doorkeeper and Job communicated about. But Satan wasn't physically there. He wasn't physically present during those conversations. He was waiting at the door. But he can hear everything. Just like Yeshua could hear the thoughts of the Jews and the Pharisees when they would think something in their mind, when they would think something in their hearts, though they didn't say it verbally. So that's very spiritual. And if you remember, I was made aware as to what was being said to the young lady by Donald Trump when they would have their conversations, though I wasn't physically there. And that's why I held back and I didn't oblige to her offer initially, because I wanted to see if she would be transparent. But of course she wouldn't, because the system itself isn't transparent, it's deceptive, right? Another thing is that Job gave Satan burnt bread initially, but the doorkeeper felt bad about that and put the burnt bread to the side and then gave Satan fresh bread. But Satan didn't want it. He didn't want the fresh bread. He said, no, no, no. Job gave me burnt bread. You're a wicked servant. Go ahead and give me the burnt bread. And then the servant felt bad about it, and then she gave him the burnt bread, which connects to what I was saying earlier, where if Satan can't deceive you, it doesn't do it for him. It doesn't give him the same gratification. He wants to know that I got you. You know, you thought you were so on point. You thought you were so vigilant, but I was able to take you down. That's what fuels his pride. If you're doing it out of pity, he doesn't even want it. So all in all, what I want to encourage you all who are watching this to do is to keep those clear eyes on. If your eye is single and it's light, the whole body will be light, right? If your eye is single and it's dark, the whole body will be dark. We have to be very sound and sober and single-minded in our perspective, in our intentions, in everything that's going on around us. We have to be patient and watch. We have to listen more than we speak and pay attention to what's really unfolding. We have to trust what God is telling us. We have to worship God in spirit by denying ourselves so that we can hear and feel and be led by his Holy Spirit on a day-to-day basis, moment-to-moment basis, and act accordingly. You know, we can make proper judgment when we're doing that. And also pay attention to your dreams, because the Most High is speaking to you at that time. When you're asleep, there's no other distractions. It's just you and God. And he can give you and reveal to you whatever he wants to reveal to you for his perfect will. So I hope this video blessed you. If it did, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with somebody else. If there's some form of connection or any feedback that you want to leave about the video, go ahead and comment below. Also down below, you'll find all links, whether it's the album that I recently put out, any form of collaborations or consultations, and anything that may be associated with everything we're doing with Freedom and Truth. So I appreciate you all for watching. I'll talk to you next time. Freedom and Truth.